There is nothing so American as our national parks. The fundamental idea behind the parks is that the country belongs to the people, that it is in the process of making for the enrichment of the lives of all of us. National parks, along with national monuments and wildlife refuges, are vital parts of the U.S.'s landscape, culture, and overall American identity. But in the recent years, our public parks and monuments have faced threats unlike any other. Fossil fuel corporations are now drilling on or near these lands. 12 national parks or lands operated by the National Park Service already have active drilling operations on them. Cuyahoga Valley National Park is Ohio's only national park, and is a place for many locals to enjoy biking, hiking, and water sports. However, drilling operations at the park persist due to split estates of privately owned mineral rights that cover over 90 wells within the park grounds. This has potential impacts on the water quality and habitats of organisms living in the park's ecosystem. Oil drilling at Big Thicket National Preserve has been going on since the late 1800s and has had historical effects of deforestation, oil seepage, and saltwater runoff. Today, the preserve still receives mineral rights requests, despite the devastating environmental implications that can be caused by oil and volatile chemical spills. Habitat fragmentation, air pollution, water pollution, and light and noise intrusions disrupt species and habitats. These are our lands, meant for the welfare of the American people, but they're taken away from us by fossil fuel companies without any hesitation. And how can they do this with impunity? The answer lies in the antiquated federal legislation and leasing policies that govern these lands. By non-competitively leasing lands at minimum allowable bids, sometimes for as little as $2 per acre, our government has essentially given private enterprise free rein on what should be a public movement. But why are they doing this? Shouldn't the government be the impartial arbiter of how public lands are enjoyed? The reality is that our elected representatives are not catering to American interests, but instead to fossil fuel interests, indicated by the unprecedented amount of lobbying from such companies. For them, extracting resources and profits is their only concern. Things like conservation and environmental deterioration are just collateral damage. And if nothing happens, the ecological fidelity of these areas will continue to decline, the health of nearby residents and animals will suffer, and these cherished American monuments will become a husk of their former selves. All hope is not lost though. There are specific actions that can be taken. Things like making leasing prices more accurate and having a more robust stakeholder process that would bring in more intimate public engagement in new projects would greatly help. Furthermore, updating policies to create unassailable protections to the national parks and monuments we have now, ones that can't be modified by the pendulum swings of four-year elections, would ensure that these lands would be protected for generations to come. And what can the average person do? Make their voice heard by voting for officials that support conservation. Provide comments for any proposed projects or leases by the Bureau of Land Management during their public engagement phase. And even supporting organizations that do much of this heavy lifting, like the NPCA. Ultimately, it's up to us to act as the guardians of our national parks and lands. We'll have to mobilize quickly to make our concerns heard, to make others aware about this crisis, and to cement these ideals into law. It's time for us to stand up and protect the American landscape. It's time for us to ask the question, is this our land?